What's happening, y'all? Wow. Is about to get crazy. So buckle up. In lines 648 to 746, we encounter the allegorical climax of the poem's underworld, shifting from the physical geography of hell to the terrifying introduction of sin and death. This section provides the vital theological and narrative threshold of the epic, exposing the hidden, monstrous origins of Satan's rebellion. This passage is a masterclass in psychological and mythological interpretation. When confronted by the grotesque monsters guarding the gates, Satan initially fails to recognize them, viewing them as alien obstacles to be overcome through force. Milton uses this dramatic irony to expose the self-deluding nature of evil. Satan thinks he is a glorious, independent conqueror, but Milton's dense allegorical framework reveals that Satan's rebellion has actually birthed an inescapable, incestuous cycle of cosmic horror. The section begins with Satan arriving at the threefold gates of hell, made of brass, iron, and adamantine rock. Milton characterizes the guardians through grotesque, surrealistic allegory. Sin appears as a woman down to the waist, but ends in a scaly serpentine tail, surrounded by barking hellhounds that constantly crawl back into her womb to gnaw her vitals. Death is described as a formless, shifting shadow, a terrifying entity that wears the illusion of a kingly crown and shakes a deadly dart. This provides crucial context for the reader. Hell is not just an empty cage, it is actively policed by the psychological realities of rebellion. By rendering sin and death as physical, monstrous characters, Milton dramatizes the absolute spiritual decay that occurs the moment an entity separates from God. All right, enough of that. Let's jump back into it together. Before the gates there sat on either side a formidable shape. The one seemed woman to the waist and fair, but ended foul in many a scaly fold, voluminous and vast, a serpent armed with mortal sting. About her middle round, a cry of hellhounds, never ceasing, barked with wide Cerberian mouths full loud, and rung a hideous peal. Yet when they list, would creep, if aught disturbed their noise, into her womb, and kennel there. Yet there still barked and howled within unseen. Far less abhorred than these, vexed Scylla bathing in the sea that parts Calabria from the hoarse Trinacrian shore. Nor uglier follow the night hag, when called in secret. Riding through the air she comes, lured with the smell of infant blood, to dance with Lapland witches, while the laboring moon eclipses at their charms. The other shape, if shape it might be called, that shape had none, distinguishable in member, joint, or limb, or substance might be called that shadow seemed, for each seemed either. Black it stood as night, fierce as 10 furies, terrible as hell, and shook a dreadful dart. What seemed his head the likeness of a kingly crown had on. Satan was now at hand, and from his seat the monster moving onward came as fast, with horrid strides. Hell trembled as he strode. The undaunted fiend, what this might be admired, not feared. God and his Son except, created thing not valued he nor shunned, and with disdainful look thus first began. Whence and what art thou, execrable shape, that darest, through grim and terrible, advance thy miscreated front athwart my way to yonder gates? Through them I mean to pass, that be assured. Without leave asked of thee retire, or taste thy folly, and learn by proof. Hell-born, not to contend with spirits of heaven. To whom the goblin full of wrath replied, Art thou that traitor angel? Art thou he who first broke peace in heaven and faith, till then unbroken, and in proud rebellious arms drew after him the third part of heaven's sons, conjured against the highest, for which both thou and they, outcast from God, are here condemned to waste eternal days in woe and pain? And reckon'st thou thyself with spirits of heaven, hell-doomed, and breathest defiance here, and scorn where I reign king, and to enrage thee more, the king and lord? Back to thy punishment, false fugitive, and to thy speed add wings, lest with a whip of scorpions I pursue thy lingering, or with one stroke of this dart strange horror seize thee, and pangs unfelt before. So spake the grisly terror, and in shape so speaking and so threatening grew tenfold more dreadful and deform. On the other side, incensed with indignation, Satan stood unterrified, and like a comet burned, that fires the length of Ophiuchus huge in the Arctic sky, and from his horrid hair shakes pestilence and war. Each at the head leveled his deadly aim, their fatal hands no second stroke intend, and such a frown each cast at the other, as when two black clouds with heaven's artillery fraught come rattling on over the Caspian, then stand front to front, hovering a space, till winds the signal blow to join their dark encounter in mid-air. So frowned the mighty combatants, that hell grew darker at their frown, so matched they stood. For never but once more was either like to meet so great a foe, and now great deeds had been achieved, whereof all hell had rung, had not the snaky sorceress that sat fast by hell gate, and kept the fatal key, risen, and with hideous outcry rushed between. "O Father, what intends thy hand," she cried, "against thy only Son? What fury, O Son, possessed thee to bend that mortal dart against thy Father's head? And knowest for whom? For him who sits above and laughs the while at thee ordained his drudge to execute whate'er his wrath, which he calls justice, bids, his wrath which one day will destroy ye both." So spake, and at her words the hellish pest forbore. Then these to her Satan returned: "So strange thy outcry, and thy words so strange thou interposest, that my sudden hand prevented spares to tell thee yet by deeds what it intends, till first I know of thee, what thing thou art, thus double formed, and why in this infernal vale first met thou callest me Father, and that phantasm callest my Son. I know thee not, nor ever saw till now sight more detestable than him and thee." To whom thus the portress of Hell Gate replied, "What the f-?" That's all for today. Until next time, ciao.